As you may have seen recently, Aranya Zaruska's killer was deemed incompetent or unfit to stand trial in North Carolina. Now, he is still in federal custody. He will likely stand federal trial, but he was deemed unfit to stand trial in North Carolina and in Charlotte. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the consequences of that. We're going to talk about some implications of what the standards are currently for fitness to stand trial in America. Okay? So I hope everybody enjoys this. Here we go. This is a New York Post article. The New York Post article. The deranged homeless man accused of savagely butchering Aranya Zarutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte light rail train, has been found incapable to proceed on state murder charges. According to a motion filed April 7th, DeCarlos Brown Jr. was evaluated December 29th at Central Regional Hospital, and the subsequent report determined that he was not competent to stand trial. According to WBTV, his attorney asked the court to delay his competency hearing by 180 days. The results were previously sealed in state court and were only revealed as the motion was filed. Prosecutors did not object to the request of 180 delay of Brown's Rule 24 hearing, which was previously scheduled for April 30th, which will determine whether he is fit to proceed with a potential death penalty trial. Brown is also facing federal charges and will remain in custody on that case, his lawyer Daniel Roberts said. Brown is a judge must now determine whether to accept the report's findings, and the case against him will likely be delayed until his capacity is determined to be restored by the court. In the motion filed by Brown's public defender, he claimed the court-required capacity hearing cannot take place without the accused killer in federal custody, and that the court also can't order to have his capacity restored. If a judge agrees Brown is incompetent to stand trial, state law mandates that the charges be dismissed. However, if the judge issues the ruling without prejudice, the state murder charges could be refiled if he ever regains capacity to be tried. A similar situation happened in Tar Heel State in 2020 when murder charges were dismissed without prejudice against Buford James Penley after he was determined to be incompetent by multiple psychologists, including one who worked for the DA's office. Everybody say W roommate. I'm not going to dox him by giving you his name. Got a large Diet Coke flown in. Defendant deemed capable to proceed trial if they can understand the nature and object of the proceedings, comprehend his or her situation in reference to the proceedings, and assist his or her defense in rational or reasonable manner. Brown has been in federal custody in Chicago since grand jury indicted him October 27th for violence against a railroad carrier and mass transportation system causing death. He faces state charges of first-degree murder. He's been ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation pursuant to his federal case, but the court filings viewed by the outlet last month show it hasn't been completed, and that the evaluation period has been extended. The outlet reported that restoring competency can take a long time in North Carolina because of limited space in state psychiatric facilities, and said it is not uncommon for descendants to wait a year or more for a bed to open up. Brown, 35, whose mother told the Post is schizophrenic, was arrested at least 14 times in North Carolina for charges ranging from assault and firearm possessions to felony robbery dating back to 2007. At the time of the senseless attack in late August, he was free on cashless bail. Dude. After a magistrate released him with a written promise to show up for court after placing a bogus 911 call. The horrifying caught-on-camera slaying became national news and prompted President Trump to call for Brown to face the death penalty on federal murder charges. 2 months after the attack, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein signed Aranya's law, which prevents cashless bail for some violent crimes and repeat offenders and improved checks on criminals released on bail. This is a tweet from Walsh. We're going to read this tweet, and then we'll go through some other things. We're gonna work our way to what I have to say. We'll get there, I promise. The whole idea of incompetence to stand trial is fucking nonsense. If you're too incompetent to understand that you shouldn't butcher an innocent woman on the train, you should die. Perhaps, period, arrest and convict and execute. You're not fit to be a part of human society. How many more innocent people must we sacrifice for the sake of coddling and babying the absolute scum of the earth? Our ancestors had it right. They would have had this guy hanging from the gallows in under an hour after conviction. The old system of justice was light years better than this insane bullshit we're dealing with now. All right. Now, this is Otto von Tweetmark, who is used to be Good Tweet Man, if you remember that. It's username taken. I don't remember how it happened. But Otto von Tweetmark says, Good Tweet Man. Why even resort to such when the common law as a tradition is all that needs followed? The incompetent should be institutionalized. Okay. This is what we're going to talk about. Incompetency in American law, and I've confirmed this with somebody who practices law, is not insanity. There is an IQ barrier to be considered competent to stand trial in America, which means that there are significant implications of this. There is an IQ barrier under which you are deemed incompetent to stand trial, okay? This comes from an article from The Hill. Alabama appeal of lower court rulings tossed out Joseph Clifton's capital murder conviction for the 1997 death of Dirk Van Dam, who was beaten and killed with a hammer during a robbery. Smith has taken 5 IQ tests, 4 of which placed his IQ into low to mid 70s. An IQ of 70 or lower is generally when a person is considered intellectually disabled, which would exempt them from execution alongside children under the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment, the Supreme Court has ruled. Now, as we read in the New York Post article, you'll remember in the New York Post article that we read that you aren't charged. Like the trial goes away if you're deemed incompetent. It's not that you just can't be executed. It's that in North Carolina and a lot of states, if you're deemed incompetent, you just get institutionalized. But because that happens, a lot of people think that incompetent is just insanity. But it's not. There is an IQ barrier. All right. So this is what I said to Tweetman. I want to read it to you guys. And we'll talk about it. Because I stand by this, but it's going to get me in trouble. I'm surprised I haven't gotten in trouble for it yet. But here we go. Incompetent doesn't mean madness in American law. Mental incompetence has an IQ limit. And the law as a teacher, so the point of the law, this is an aside, the point of law is that it teaches, it's a teacher. That's law forms the citizens in virtue. It's a teacher. Just like the rules of a father form the children in virtue. Law is a teacher. Law as a teacher would teach a lesson with that I'm not sure many would be comfortable with. And if we're going to have this conversation, it needs to be had honestly and frankly. The generally accepted IQ barrier of not competent is 70. Haiti has an average IQ of 67. The average sub-Saharan African IQ hovers around 70. The average IQ of African Americans hovers around 85 compared to 100 for white Americans. If the law of a population says that over half of a given population, or up to 30% in the case of 85, just because of how standard deviations work, 30 to 50%, so 30 to 50% of a given population is not competent to be held and punished for capital crimes, then as a matter of policy, no migrants should be accepted from those countries. And or it ought to be an unjust law for an individual or business owner, or for that matter, a father of a family, to say, if the government will not protect me by being more discerning about who it sends to my community, then I should not have to associate with or serve people or interact with people who are statistically significantly vastly more likely to be so mentally handicapped that the government says they can't be punished if they kill me. I'm not saying that this is correct. I am anti-segregation, but I'm also anti-forced integration. So there's a difference there, okay? Segregation is that there are racial separations in public services. Integration, that was segregation. Desegregation is not the same thing as integration. Integration is forced busing, right? which most people opposed, black and white, in the 60s and 70s. The government did not engage in desegregation. Desegregation is just, hey, you can't put up a sign on a train that says black car and white car. Integration is forcing the communities together with racial quotas through affirmative action, busing, those kinds of things. What I am saying is that the implications of the current standards in law as a theory are that the U.S. government's forced integration was unjust and complicit in violence on white America. Either the law should change to only include madness, or it should be a matter of, or it should, as a matter of justice, allow citizens to protect themselves by restoring their full First Amendment rights to freedom of association. This is, I'm going to stand on business about this. I'm going to stand on business about this. If your law is that there are people who, if they kill you, the law is they're too stupid to be held accountable, then forcing your children to associate with their children is immensely immoral. The law in America currently is that over half of Haiti would be incompetent to stand trial because they can't understand that murder is wrong. But that if you say, I would like to never associate with a Haitian, you are violating the law. That is an unjust law. If the law insists on that fact, and I'm not sure that it's true, I think I agree with Matt Walsh. The idea, and I think it's a violation of the natural law. The idea that anyone doesn't have the natural law written on their hearts, any human person doesn't have the natural law written on their hearts, is wrong. That is not true. Either punish them or do not force me to associate with them. One of the two. You don't get to have both. Every human being has the natural law written on their heart, and as such knows that murder and violent crime is wrong. And they should be punished for it. Am I as pro-death penalty as Matt Walsh is? No. I'll be honest about this. But they need to be punished. And if you're going to tell me that they're too stupid to be punished, then what you're telling me is that I should not associate with them because you are not going to disincentivize them from killing me and my family. And if you punish me for doing that, if you punish me for saying that I should be allowed to do that, you are wrong, not me. I am having the just and normal response to being told that you will not disincentivize a group of people from killing me because you think they're too stupid. Will Elser says, are they moral agents or are they not? Leftists are essentially saying that blacks are no different from pit bulls. That's the idea, right? Like my socioeconomic status. If they are moral agents, then they have to be held accountable. You cannot defend forced integration and an IQ barrier for criminal justice. You got to pick one. I mean, like, you just have to pick one. You simply cannot defend both. And I think I can defend that I don't think forced integration was right, and I don't think that IQ barriers are right. But they are they're not like, you don't have to pick one or the other. There's like space outside of them. But if you're going to pick one, then you can't have the other. They're mutually exclusive. They're mutually exclusive. You can and should pick neither. But if you're going to pick one, you definitely can't have the other. And we have both. Can a quote-unquote person that has such a low IQ even be considered, do they even have a soul that they can be saved at that point? What is no different from an animal? I don't think that is the case. I think that if you're going to say that a low IQ makes you beyond criminal justice, that the implication of that is that they are subhuman, I don't think that's true. That's what I'm saying, is I don't think that is true. I think the implication of it is that that is the case. I think it's wrong. That's why I think it's wrong. If you can be declared mentally incompetent to stand trial, then every single juror needs to be put through the same tests on the government's dime. If it is possible for someone to be too stupid to stand trial, then it is possible for them to be too stupid to understand one. This is a larger problem. But what I am saying, and I am implying what you think I am implying, that we have a group of people who are not going to be punished for crimes at the same rates, even though they commit them at higher rates. But if you say maybe this person is not competent to stand trial, then you are deemed like it's wrong. Further, I said to this guy, Pius XII's lawyer, voir dire does not do this because voir dire doesn't test for IQ. It just tests for biases. And also, the defense is incentivized to get people who don't understand what's going on and who have biases in favor of them onto juries. And we see this a lot. You can find stories online of juries finding people innocent who are obviously not. There's lots of evidence that they aren't, but they have certain things in common. They have certain things in common with the defendant, and as a result, they are nullifying. They're just engaging in jury nullification. O.J. Simpson is a perfect example of that. The O.J. trial is the quintessential example of this. O.J. was found innocent because a black jury decided that they were out to get a black man, even though what was actually happening was they were out to get an obvious murderer. So, there you go, guys. That's the Zeruska update. Now, here's the other thing. Actually, one more thing. He's in federal custody, and he's going to stand trial in federal court. Elections matter. You should vote. Bang. I'm right. Again. Always right.